Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, everyone. Let me be the first to say Merry Christmas to all of you. And to all a good night. No, we're not going to do that, right, Donna?
No.
Okay.
That would be next week anyhow.
Then let me be the first person, again, to say Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen.
And you're not.
Right back to you, Donna Fiducia. Merry Christmas, Donna.
We can say Merry Christmas. Donald Trump told us so.
I've been saying it constantly in any radio show that will have me on.
Unless you look at our Christmas card, then it says Feliz
Navidad. Hey, Merry Christmas, Donna.
You know, that was one of the first...
Merry Christmas, Donna.
Thank you, Don. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, Donna.
The first time I ever heard Feliz Navidad was Jose Feliciano.
Jose Feliz Navidad.
Navidad, yeah. But that was one of the first interviews that I ever did back in the old days on AM radio in New York City at WOR, and he actually said hello to me, and I sort of did an interview along with the host of the show.
Check you out.
And I just did the news.
Well, for those of you that have not seen our politically incorrect Christmas card, Donna and I
seriously politically incorrect.
Very much so. Every year, Donna and I create a custom Christmas card, and usually they're terribly politically incorrect, which is exactly how we want them. Now, every once in a while, we'll do a beautiful scene of the farm or something like that, a cute picture with
the
Parker
horses
sitting on a horse or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
not this year.
This year was, again, a politically incorrect Christmas card. And what we decided to do, you know, the big hot topic right now is the southern border and this caravan of illegals that are trying to get across the border. And so what we decided to do, we couldn't think of a better topic or subject of our Christmas card than the southern border. So we found this absolutely stellar photograph of the border if you were looking at the border from Mexico.
It actually says national border or something like that on it. And
yeah.
It's got all the barbed wire and everything.
It's all the concertina wire. And it's, you know, it's the southern border, man.
And then you open the card up,
but
and
wait a minute,
all around the edge.
On the front of the card, we've got all this pretty Christmas stuff as a border. And then we use this beautiful font and said, Feliz Navidad. And so that was our politically incorrect Christmas card for the year. Inside, as Donna was going to tell you, has Merry Christmas, Donna Fiducia and Don Neuen,
it says
2018.
Merry Christmas. Doesn't say Happy Holidays. It says Merry Christmas.
And the border of it is barbed wire
barbed
on the
wire.
inside. So
you know, you are so bad. You're the one who designed this. I had nothing to
I'm
do
the
with
one that
this.
designs them every year. What are you talking about? You have no hand in
the
this.
The one when Trump got elected was priceless, too.
That was a
with his hands wide open.
stellar-looking Christmas
Merry
card, if I do
Christmas.
say so myself.
With a little hat on Trump's head.
Well, at any rate, you know, there were certain individuals that are family members that we did not send that Christmas card to.
That would not appreciate this
and
Christmas
we told
card.
them that we weren't sending the current Christmas card. They got one from a few years back that was not quite as politically incorrect because, you know, you don't want to lose family members.
It really is bad when you get to the point where you can't even talk to family members. It really is.
Well, it's not that I can't. I don't want to.
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
that's true.
I just don't want to ruin the family
you can't
thing.
talk politics.
So, at any rate, everybody, Feliz Navidad, and all of those of you that are listening to this show, looking at the United States border from down in Mexico, Feliz Navidad to you, and you know, you really shouldn't have sent your kids 2,000 miles or 2,800 miles through Mexico to come up here looking for
since
a
you're
better
talking
paying
about
job.
that.
But hey, you know, who am I to criticize people?
Well, let's talk about that now. This child, this poor little girl, 7 years old, going over 2,000 miles. She hadn't eaten in days. She was very, very sick. So the Border Patrol finally gets her, and she dies in Border Control custody. So what happens? The left blames Trump. I have a question on Facebook that someone wrote, and it's a very poignant question. If an American child dies in a house owned by her American parents, who is blamed?
Donald
the government?
Trump. Donald Trump would be blamed
well,
for
he's
that.
just blamed for everything. No, in this case, though, obviously it's the parents. Meanwhile, angel moms are urging Democrats to fund the border wall. Partial government shutdown on the way this Friday, but now the White House might be softening the call for the $5 billion. Please don't tell me this. Through next year, they might do.
I am so sick of soft nads.
Yes, this is true.
You know
And
what I
Donald
mean?
Trump doesn't really have that, but, unfortunately now he's got to deal with the Democrats and that idiot Charles Schumer. So they're saying next year maybe $1.6 billion to add more walls, but not all that's needed, obviously. Given the huge budget this country has, this is a drop in the bucket. You would have more than $5 billion saved in illegal benefits, in fighting the drugs that are coming across the border, and fighting the illegal guns that are coming across the border, and fighting the terrorists that are coming across the border, and stopping future Democrat voters. That's
Donna,
the bottom line. Sorry, that really is the bottom line.
What is the number one responsibility that the federal government is charged with?
Protecting the borders and the country,
Protecting
the homeland.
the citizens of the United States.
Right.
This,
Which
to
they
me,
fail
is a
miserably at.
no-brainer.
Yep.
A no-brainer. But I'm not in office.
You know what I say? Non-essential employees, I think it's like 400,000. If they're non-essential, why do we have them? Just the name.
That's a good
Non-essential
point.
means they're not essential.
Good point.
We have a $20 trillion budget deficit. By the way, millennials, we're going to get to what Merriam-Webster, which, by the way, is a dictionary for all you millennials out there. What are the most popular words that have been searched this year? I'm going to get to that later.
Can I guess?
No, you'll never get it. You
Okay.
really won't.
All right.
I was
Well, then
really
I don't want to
surprised.
guess. Be
So
that
let's
way,
talk
Donna.
about criminal justice reform. The bill has cleared the Senate, actually, with strong bipartisan votes. So why is Paul Manafort still in jail?
Hey, bipartisans are people, too.
Yes, this is true. They're
And
not
we-
essential
and-
people,
and-
though, quite frankly.
Well, the bipartisan movement needs to be, we need to treat that with respect, and we need to do things. We need to go beyond our normal responsibility to acclimate with all these
as
bipartisan
opposed
people.
to, yes. Yeah, that's true. As opposed to homo-partisans? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Bipartisan.
Yeah. You like that? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you about the shirt
Gay
Donna Fiducia's-
partisans.
I didn't say gay. I said bipartisan.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so let me tell you about this shirt that Donna Fiducia is wearing, because she's got a lot on her list and on her plate
got
that
the
she would like to talk about. But no.
Shirt on.
All right, yeah. She's got the Future Farmers of America T-shirt on
Everybody
right
with
now.
a dirty mind thought I was saying something else.
I thought you might. Then again, you're from... Hey, speaking of being from New Jersey, we need to... It's a belated happy birthday. But one of Donna's relatives, a cousin
My
or
big
a
cuz.
second cousin or whatever...
Paulie.
Yeah, cousin Paulie.
Everybody's
You guys
got
probably
a Paulie.
saw him in the movie Rocky. Anyhow,
Yo, Paulie.
Paul Kavickia. Paul Kavickia
Try to spell that one, folks.
is a hero
he
as
is.
well as a relative.
Yes,
so
he
he's a
is.
heroic relative.
I got lots of relatives in the Kavickia clan that are
Well,
heroes.
most of them are heroes.
his dad,
Donna
his
Fiducia.
brother, all
Yeah.
of them.
Paulie, Pete, little Petey.
Yeah.
You know,
Little Petey and Paulie. Hey,
you
they
got
were
a-
there.
You got a Vinny up there someplace, don't you?
I don't know. I don't have my cousin Vinny that I know of, but that doesn't mean there isn't one somewhere
well, your
in the
cousin
woodpile.
Vinny, Hey, so at any rate, here's the deal about Paul Kavickia's birthday, which was
Mm-hmm.
Monday, yesterday. The guy, he doesn't look as old as he is. He's 49 years
Yeah,
old.
guys
ladies.
never look
He's
their age.
49 years old. And Italian people age like black people. It's in their skin. It's in the
Well,
what is it?
we are
What is it?
Sicilian, so it's pretty damn close,
But
to
but here's the deal,
that area.
us Anglos, a regular Anglo, we got to use cocoa butter and we got to use, salves and balms and ointments, that you squeeze out of tubes and get out of tubs, and you got to put it on your skin so you don't look like you're aging. But these Italian
Paisans
people.
don't need that stuff.
Paisans don't need that.
That's true.
They eat pasta, and it makes them look young. And I don't know what the deal is with this. Paul Cavicchia, who doesn't look 49 years old. You look more like you're in your early 30s. Mm-hmm. And your wife, that helps because you've married up.
Yes,
and
he has.
She makes you look younger because she's so damn attractive. And so, also.
He's got a beautiful family. He really does.
And Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Daddy Pete.
And Mama Jennifer. Mm-hmm. That's where these youthful genes come from,
the
Donna.
Utes. Yes, the Utes.
If they looked old, Paul would look old.
Big Pete and Jennifer got lots of Utes.
They got youthful genes.
And grand Utes.
They got youthful genes, and here I am wearing Wranglers. I don't get it.
But on a serious note.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Yes, this is true.
Merry Christmas. No, you know what? It's December. Nobody has a happy birthday in December. You don't.
Oh, it
Paulie doesn't.
stinks having a birthday in December.
It's Mary.
I'll give you one big present for your birthday and Christmas. I hate that.
Well, that's not what I do. So
that's what.
Put a sock in that.
That's
Fiducia.
true, but
you
that's
get
what
a
I
bunch
got
of
my
gifts.
whole life.
Well,
I hate that.
Hey, not your life now.
Get
so
skimped on.
Here's the deal.
Gypped.
Paul Cavicchia. Paul Cavicchia, are you listening to me?
His birthday's worse. It's even closer to
Merry
Christmas.
birthday.
Merry birthday.
Merry birthday, Paulie.
And on a more serious note, those Cavicchias, by the way.
And Janine.
Yep.
You
and
got a
Janine,
birthday
too.
sometime throughout the year. Merry birthday to you too, Janine.
And Kathleen.
And Kathleen.
That's what my kids used to say. They couldn't say her name. It's Kathleen.
And little Pete.
Yep.
Who's not
Pete.
little.
No, he's
a
not little
big
either.
dude.
They're really tall. All of them should have played basketball.
But I don't think any of them could whoop up on Big Pete.
No. Big Pete, Little Pete, and Paulie are heroes in my book.
They
Those
sure
Secret
are.
Service agents, folks. And Little Pete and Little Paulie were at 9/11. And they weren't little back then.
Nope.
They were heroes in my book.
Absolute
and they
heroes.
saved people when those buildings were coming down. Because 7 World Trade, the third building that came down, is where the Secret Service housed all their stuff.
That's right.
And they were there when that damn building came down. It was a scary, horrible day for so many people. And we thank them for their service. And happy birthday, Paulie.
Merry birthday, Paulie.
Merry birthday. So
Merry birthday. You
we're
gotta say
talking
it like,
about
you gotta say it like a paisan.
Merry
Come on.
birthday, Paulie.
That
The
was
criminal
terrible.
justice
Do it again,
reform-
Donna. Do it again.
Paulie. Okay?
All right.
Paulie's probably drinks coffee in the morning, too.
You're not in it yet.
No,
You're
I'm
not into it
Because I'm
yet.
trying to do this criminal
That's
justice
okay. We
reform
can get back
thing.
to that. We're talking about Secret Service agents here. Now, do me a favor.
What?
Start off with I bet the Chinese food is terrible.
I can't do that.
Come
Marissa
on.
Tomei from My Cousin
Yeah,
Vinny.
come on, you can do it.
I bet the Chinese food here is terrible.
All right, now
First of all,
now wish Paulie Cavicchia
happy birthday,
birthday.
Paulie. I can't get into this now.
Hey,
because
okay.
I've tried my entire career not to have a Jersey accent, and for about a year I moved to a town named Colts Neck in New Jersey, and Bruce Springsteen actually lived right around the corner. I could walk to his house, folks. Okay, and I got to tell you,
And who cares about that?
the problem is.
We don't like Bruce Springsteen. He's a commie
No, and I
lib.
got jealous every time I went past the big riding farm that he built his daughter.
Built
but
with
that's
the
another
money
story.
that he gets off of tax breaks.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't pay any taxes, but then
He
he
and
has
Bon
like
Jovi.
500 acres. Yeah, I know. That's true. But I was down there for a year, and I hate to say it, but a lot of the New Yorkers come from Staten Island, and the Outer Bridge crossing was like the Bering Strait. All the Staten Islanders, as they started to get more money, moved into Jersey.
Hold on. Stop.
My hand.
Donna's talking with her hands like a paisana.
Not as bad as Nancy Pelosi, though.
No, well, that's just
I don't
twitching.
turn my palms toward my face.
Yeah, like she needs to slap herself.
Anyhow, so I'm there for like a week, and I started to talk like this, and then I go into Fox, and I had to really concentrate.
Well, and it
there's a
wasn't
huge-
long after you were there that you started taking hits out on people. You were,
No, I
you were
didn't.
pricing out cement boots and how deep is the East
No, that was
River
my next-door
and
neighbor.
when's it best to dump a body when's a current going to suck it out to the ocean. Yeah, you were there like 3 weeks and you started doing all that.
No, that was my next door neighbor.
Oh yeah, I forgot it wasn't you.
However,
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Yes,
You only got
really.
8 minutes and 46 seconds left of
but
this.
I used to really have to concentrate to not have an accent. Now my kids are telling me that I have a bit of an accent now. I say y'all because I like y'all, actually. It's better than yous guys. But I tried so hard not to sound like I was a Guido.
No,
from
there's
Jersey,
only
I gotta
time.
tell
There's
you.
only certain times, especially when you get wound up and you're cussing at the television, that you
That's true.
sound like a Jersey Italian.
The Jersey Italian does come out.
Okay.
Speaking of Jersey Italians, Judge Andrew Napolitano is really grating on my nerves.
What is his deal?
I don't know. He says that Trump could end up getting indicted. Of course, he said it on Shepard Smith's show, too.
I guess Trump could.
Over the Michael Cohen garbage. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't play one on TV, but apparently my old buddy Napolitano does. Michael Cohen has been a proven liar repeatedly. So it's up to the prosecutor who you believe. And given Mueller's background and the fact that he handed this over to the Southern District of New York and a woman now who is the AG of New York who has basically lambasted Donald Trump, this woman should have to recuse herself, but that's another story. Mark Levin, who in my opinion is a legal scholar, said you cannot indict a sitting president. The former head of the Federal Election Commission last April on Levin's show said that you cannot indict. Well, no, he actually said whether or not you want to argue about indicting a sitting president, what Cohen did and what Trump allegedly did was not a campaign finance violation.
No.
And I might also add, Barack Obama paid a $360,000 fine for misuse of millions of dollars of campaign finance funds. And finally, don't go there, Maxine Waters. That's another one.
Impeach
and
45.
all the members,
Impeach 45.
all the members of Congress. Remember, there is a $17 million taxpayer-funded hush fund, and Donald Trump, as president, knows who they are. And by the way, all previous presidents do. That, to me, all the dirt that these previous presidents have is the reason why Jeff Sessions has been
What do you mean, Jeff
and never
Sessions?
really
You
was able to be
let's talk about
AG
Jeff Sessions,
because
Donna.
Hillary Clinton and the Obamas had a lot of crap on him somewhere, I guess, back
Where the
there,
hell-
and
Donna.
therefore he kept his mouth shut.
Donna, where the hell's Jeff Sessions?
I have no idea. Probably
Did
on
Jeff
the side
Sessions
of a
go
milk
back to
carton.
Alabama?
No, I have no idea.
Is he watching Crimson Tide football,
He
Donna?
might be.
Jeff Sessions?
Speaking of attorney generals,
Where the hell's Jeff Sessions?
Michael
Donna! Where's Jeff Sessions?
have no
Where
idea.
is Jeff Sessions?
We need to put a bolo out on him. Well, we don't need to
Put a
anymore,
bolo
but he's
out in
gone.
Jeff Sessions. Where is that
Be
man?
on the lookout for Jeff Sessions.
Roll
If
Tide.
anybody's found
Roll
him,
Tide, Jeff Sessions.
please
Roll Tide.
Speaking
Roll
of
Tide.
attorney
I can say
generals,
that because we're 10 miles from Alabama.
yes, we can. Michael Mulcahy is a former attorney general, by the way.
You want me to
And
laugh?
he
Hold on,
reminded
hold on,
everybody-
Hold on. You want me to laugh like Jeff Sessions?
Sure. How do we know what he laughs like? No one's ever even seen him for the last 2 years. He was AWOL. Thank God he's gone. Anyhow,
Hey, you didn't react to that at all.
I'm trying to get my stuff done here.
But what do I do
you
every
always
segment?
get in my way, and I can't say anything.
All right, so
I
here's
never
the
get
Jeff
anything
Sessions
done.
laugh.
Okay. Very funny. All right.
Oh, that
Obama's
was weak.
emails were found. This former attorney general, Michael Mulcahy, can I get this out here? Reminded everybody last week, and I had to jot this down, that Obama's emails were found on Hillary's servers. So if you indict Hillary Clinton, you also indict Barack Obama. We got to save
But
the
if
precious.
the glove fits, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Now, that's why they're protecting the precious. I look at this, quite frankly, as the Lord of the Rings. They're trying to protect the precious, and Jeff Sessions was the first one to do that, yes. Now, what a pompous SOB Jim Comey is, too.
Oh.
He testified again yesterday, blasted the FBI and the GOP for lying. Are you kidding me?
I think he ought
said-
to play basketball for the Harlem Globetrotters. What do you think?
I don't know. He is pretty tall, but he probably can't jump
Pretty
'cause
tall.
he's
Have you ever
white.
seen him walk down a hallway?
Yeah, but he probably can't jump.
It looks like he's walking around with the midgets from what's the movie?
He's like a...
The Oompa Loompa?
Yeah.
What movie is that from? Wizard of Oz?
Well, the Wizard of Oz had all the little munchkins.
Yeah.
But had the
Anytime
Oompa
James
Loompa. You
Comey-
remember the music.
Yeah. Anytime Comey walks down a hallway to go to any hearing, it looks like he's walking around with Wizard of Oz midgets.
How about those cute little fuzzy face things in Star Wars? What were they? Remember those things? They used to ride on... They'd be riding around on the little...
Weren't they in Star Trek when they fell out?
No, those were guinea pigs, quite frankly.
Guinea pigs.
Those
Our friend Myra might have a couple of them. Hi, Myra.
were tribbles. Those
Tribbles.
were tribbles.
Yeah.
am I
No
do-
kill eye. No kill I.
That was the Horta. Get your segments straight here.
It's still the same show, wasn't it?
It was Star Trek. It was
Ladies and gentlemen, have you noticed that we've now got 3 minutes and 18 seconds, and I have prevented Donna from saying almost anything of substance?
Jeez. Let me, as far as Jim Comey is concerned, blasting the FBI and the GOP for lying, let me just reiterate also that it was a very big Russian dictator. It was Lenin or Stalin, I forget which one, who said,
of those guys.
Accuse your opposition of what you yourself are doing. And that really is exactly what the left is doing, in my opinion. By the way, your friend Susan Collins predicts that Obamacare will head to the Supreme Court since a federal judge said it was unconstitutional last week. Trump does have a replacement, but they're never going
Don't forget
to
the
agree
blueberries,
with him.
Norman. Don't forget the blueberries.
Chuck Schumer, as usual,
All right.
gives half a story.
Hold
He
on.
goes, the less people are going to have maternity care if they do Trump's plan. You know why? Because men are required to have maternity
That's right.
care. That's what
That's
he's
right.
saying.
And I'm dilating right now. Hey, Donna, we've got 2 minutes. We have to get very serious.
Well, I wanted to give what the first word that everybody's searching for now.
We'll do it fast.
Justice, believe it or not, up 74% from
Okay.
2017 because the millennials don't know what justice is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on a very serious note, last week we lost a friend and a patriot. His name is and was Admiral James Ace Lyons. He was in his 90s, and we had the honor of finally meeting this man after interviewing him at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention in January of 2018. He gave a stellar situation report, a stellar discussion. And I'm going to make this very brief because we are running out of time here. On Veterans Day, Donna and I went out to eat dinner. And when we got to the restaurant, there was a table set up, and 2 veterans were working this table, and they were taking contributions to help homeless vets in the Atlanta area. Both of these gentlemen served in Vietnam, one of which was in the Navy. We tried to get Major General Paul Vallely on the phone to talk to the Army veteran, and we weren't able to get him. But we were able to get Admiral Ace Lyons on the phone, and we asked Admiral Lyons if he would mind speaking with this Navy veteran on Veterans Day. And it was quite a blow to us because Admiral Lyons had just a week or so prior to that lost his wife. But he still was willing to speak with this veteran, this Navy veteran. So they talked for a little while on the phone. After they hung up, the Navy veteran realized who he had just spoken with, and he was a commanding admiral for this Navy veteran. Admiral Lyons will be missed, but the one thing that I can say is that he's reunited with the love of his life, because very shortly after she passed, he too passed. We're going to go to break, and when we come back from it, we're going to play Admiral Lyons' speech from the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention in January of 2018. Admiral Lyons, rest in peace, sir. We miss you, and we most certainly love you.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don NEUEN. And we lost a great one last week, Admiral James Ace Lyons. He was served as the U.S. Navy. He served in the U.S. Navy for 36 years as a surface warfare officer, including Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, the largest single military command in the world. He was well into his 90s. At one point, he managed a budget of over $5 billion and controlled a force of over 250,000 personnel.
He
and
managed
this past
a budget.
January,
He managed a budget that is what Donald Trump is asking for to build the wall.
Exactly.
Let's put that into perspective.
Really. And we had the honor to introduce him last January at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention. And this was his speech. We want to play it again for you, as again, we lost a great one. May you rest in peace, Admiral James Ace Lyons.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be back with such a great group of Americans. I got to share with you an experience I had on the plane the other day. It was packed, took off an hour late as usual. We finally leveled off, and all of a sudden, the guy sitting next to the window yells out, "Admiral, United States Navy, retired, married, 2 sons, surgeons." And before I could say anything, the guy in the aisle seat yells out, "Admiral, United States Coast Guard, retired, married, 2 sons, both judges." I said, what's going on here? And then the guy in the middle seat yells out, "Gunny Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, retired, never married, 2 sons, both admirals." Anything's possible in today's world. How many veterans we got here today? All the veterans, stand up. Give them a nice hand for their years of service. Well, I got to say, this group, more than any other group, knew on 8 November 2016, we had a political revolution in America when you helped elect Donald J. Trump as the 45th President of the United States. I got to tell you, that election was for more than the presidency. That election was for the soul of America and for the rights and freedoms we enjoy in our Constitution. And make no mistake, our Constitution is under attack every day, not only by the Muslim Brotherhood, but the deep state, which includes the mainstream media and our former president. And I got to tell you, I don't understand why on day one, all the Obama holdovers weren't given a pink slip. And on day 2, why we didn't start purging the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, with regard to the Muslim Brotherhood, there's no question they should be designated a terrorist organization. You know, it was Phil Haney, formerly of Department of Homeland Security, that came up with 13 different reasons why they should be so designated. But as I wanted to tell the president, Mr. President, you only need one, and it's their creed, which is to destroy America from within by our own miserable hands and replace our Constitution with that draconian 7th century Sharia law. Well, let me tell you, it ain't going to happen. I reject the term radical Islam because it implies there is some other form of Islam. Well, there isn't. And it was Erdogan of Turkey, when he was prime minister, who said it best. Islam is Islam. Democracy is the train we ride to achieve our ultimate objective, which is to make Islam the dominant religion throughout the world. And you have to understand Islam is a totalitarian ideology bent on world domination, masquerading as a religion. And until you understand that, you will not be successful in defeating this threat. Now, we can't overlook the deep state and what it has done. And I got to tell you, each day I wake up and I thank God Hillary Rodham Clinton is not our president. Now, we're all waiting to see Chairman Nunes's release of his 4 pages that will, I believe, be sending people to jail and will bring to an end the Mueller Conspiracy Act. I think it will include, and I can share this with you, back in 2015, all 6 U.S. intelligence agencies, including the FBI, formed a secret task force to take down then candidate Trump. And they used a UK, a British spy element that was housed at NSA at Fort George Meade in Maryland. And why that outfit? Because they couldn't get FISA warrants to spy on Trump's organization. But the Brits were under no such constraints. And so they used them, which is really unlawful because much of that information is what Mueller is using today. Now, one other thing which I can share with you at this point. You all remember the Russian female lawyer that had the meeting in Trump Tower. Well, she was precluded. She was such a national security threat. She was precluded from coming to the United States. But through Loretta Lynch and her other connections at the Secretary of State, they got her a visa to come to New York for the specific purpose to set up this meeting at Trump Tower where they then could charge the Trump organization with collusion with the Russians. I mean, this is KGB tactics. This makes absolutely no sense, and it all must be exposed. Let me share with you Uranium-1. I don't have the time to go into all of it, but remember a couple of things. Rosatom, which was the Russian nuclear energy corporation czar, set up an American subsidiary in Bethesda, Maryland. And they sent over their agent, a guy by the name of Mike, in 2005. And he, an enterprising guy, immediately set up his RICO organization, money laundering, fraud, you name it, he did it. So by 2010, as a result of an FBI walk-in informant, the FBI had all the information they needed to indict this guy, Mikan, which would have killed the Uranium-1 deal. Now, that wasn't going to be allowed to happen. In fact, what they did, they kept the investigation open for another 4 years. Why? Well, after all, the Clinton Foundation had to get their $145 million donation from the board of directors from Uranium-1, those great humanitarians. You can see, if they had indicted, it would have killed the Uranium-1 deal. Then you got the dossier. The dossier. My God. You know, this is Gambino crime family stuff. I know Al Capone has got to be rolling over his grave and saying, "Where were you guys in the FBI when I needed you?" Well, you know, there was only one collusion with Russia, and that was the Clinton campaign, the Democratic National Committee, the Fusion GPS, and the FBI. And I got to tell you, the FBI paid Steele over $100,000. And that's in addition to the $10 million that the Clinton campaign paid the Fusion GPS. All right, so from there, this all has to be exposed. The same way with the Hillary emails and everybody associated with her, because they violated the Espionage Act. They must be held accountable, and that includes our former president. Now, from there, we go to Benghazi. And then we have Fast and Furious. And then we got the IRS scandal. It all must be exposed if we're to make America great again. And that includes exposing the fraud that we had occupying 8 years of the White House. That means his real birth certificate. That means his phony Social Security number from Connecticut from a dead man. It all has to come out. It's part of making America great again. Now, I just remembered, I forgot to tell you about the Muslim Brotherhood. So I want to share that with you. I mentioned their creed, and this is what President Obama embraced. He not only embraced this group, but he put out a secret, a presidential study directive number 11. And actually, it sanctioned the Muslim Brotherhood and their civilized jihad. That presidential study directive is still in effect today and must be canceled. It needs to be declassified so every American understands what that president did and how he embraced the Muslim Brotherhood who are out to destroy our Constitution. Now, you know, when you want to take a country down, the first thing you do is weaken the military. And that's what sequestration was all about. I mean, here we were being threatened all over the world. So why would you cut almost $1 trillion out of the defense budget so that you wind up with the smallest army since World War II, the smallest navy since, not World War II, World War I, the smallest air force in its history, and the same for the Marine Corps. Not only that, our readiness is down probably somewhere around 50%. The military is in a world of hurt, and it's going to take over a decade to get back where we need to be. And this is all contingent on whether we can get an appropriations bill signed. And that's what this is all about, what's going on in Congress. That's good old Chucky Schumer. He doesn't give a damn about the DACA. He is screwing the United States military and preventing us from getting that authorization bill we need to start the new programs and rebuild the United States military. Now, you know, compounding the budget problems was the social engineering that was imposed on our military by President Obama. It did nothing to improve our readiness or capabilities. It destroyed unit integrity, cohesiveness, and the will to win. Nothing that they did helped our military. In fact, he put out an executive order, 13353. And what it said was, diversity is a strategic imperative for mission accomplishment and readiness. What nonsense, to clean it up. I mean, this is faculty lounge logic. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the ships, equipment. And we used to be, we wanted the best and brightest, and that's what we deserve. Now, you know, there's three things I never let aboard a ship. One was a thief. Two was a drug user or drug pusher. and 3 was a homosexual. In fact, I reject the entire LGBT agenda. We've got to restore the moral underpinnings of the United States military. You know, when the president makes a statement, transgenders will not be allowed in the military, I don't need a 6-month study to figure out what that means. And I regret to say Mathis is part of the problem. Nobody has a right to serve in the military. It is the commander-in-chief that sets the standards. And if you can't meet those standards, you must be rejected because it affects the single military mission of the United States military, which is defend and protect this great country. If you can't meet the standards, you're out. And with this transgender nonsense, I got to tell you, Dr. Phil McHugh, who was the lead psychologist at Johns Hopkins University and who is an expert on transgenderism, said, transgenderism is not a civil rights issue. It is a mental disorder that needs treatment and understanding. And it should never be forced on the United States military. Transgender people are mentally unstable, and we don't need them in the military. Now, let me quickly touch on a few other things. I want to touch on our border, Iran and North Korea. There's no question we should build the wall. It's not only to protect from illegal immigration, but it's the drug trade. Years ago, the Soviet Union, this goes far back, they did a study, and they figured the way to break down the American society and military was through flooding the United States with drugs. And they are joined by China, Iran, and North Korea. They infiltrated the drug cartels. Now, our former president actually sanctioned. We have Hezbollah. He sanctioned Hezbollah, who have that's the Iranian terrorist organization, who have over $1 billion drug program going in the United States today. In fact, the DEA was going to close them up and shut everything down and was prevented from doing so by our former illustrious president. This was criminal, and he should be totally held accountable and prosecuted for this thing. In fact, they've just reopened. It's called Project Cassandra, and they've just reopened it again. But they've lost 2-3 years of all of those contacts and everything else. Very difficult. But the point is, we have been infiltrated. This is for them, for Russia, for China. This is their political warfare. And you've got to look at this from their standpoint. And we've got to come at it from our standpoint. Yeah, recognize it. It is political warfare, and we can no longer tolerate it. What else have we got here? Certainly from Latin America. You know, as you sit here today, we have Russian strategic backfire bombers operating from airfields in Venezuela today. They're not only operating from Venezuela airfields, they're operating from Nicaraguan airfields. I've never heard of anybody or any of us intercepting those strategic bombers. In fact, Ambassador Noriega, some years ago, told me Hezbollah actually has a missile site in Venezuela. I haven't seen pictures of it, but I take his word for it. All of this must be stopped. All of it cannot continue. I mean, we're wide open through our southern hemisphere. What's gone on? And it's China and Russia that control the Panama Canal today. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. I mean, that was one of the dumbest things he did, turning over that strategic, important waterway. And let me touch on Iran. We have an uprising in Iran. There's no question we should be supporting that uprising because those protesters have shown they have the courage to take on the Iranian theocracy and want to remove it, which should be one of our key core vital national security interests. And the way you start showing your support is you cancel that stupid nuclear agreement that Obama put into effect, and you reimpose the sanctions. That'll be the definite signal to the protesters we're with them. We also need to revise the Voice of America and the Farsi and the English and the Arabic broadcast to bring it in line with the president's agenda. You got to get rid of the Obama holdovers. Now, the other things we should be doing in Iran. No question, we should have supported a sovereign Kurdistan. That's the one thing that will interrupt the Iranian bridge to the Mediterranean Sea. We also should be rearming the Kurds. And let me tell you, we should support the independence movement in Baluchistan. This will screw up the Chinese efforts in Pakistan in their Silk Road new ventures. Now, with regard to North Korea, I can tell you this, regretfully, nothing's going to come out of these talks. It makes absolutely no sense. You need to remember, there'd be no North Korea nuclear problem if it wasn't for China. China's the one that provided the wherewithal for North Korea to have a nuclear program. And also remember, North Korea is the off-site laboratory for Iran. So everything North Korea has, you've got to assume Iran has. Now, President Trump's gut instincts were exactly on the mark. He wanted to take on China, impose sanctions, and that's what he should have done, instead of being talked out of that by the Obama holdovers and go hat in hand to China to ask us, please help us out with this North Korean nuclear problem. Makes absolutely no sense. And what we need to demand from China is they withdraw the 16-wheel TELs. Those are the tractors, erector launchers, that give the mobility to the North Korean ICBMs. In other words, if they didn't have that, we'd have 2 hours to take out those missiles before they could ever be launched. But because of these TELs, it gives them the road mobility where they can hide them, and it makes it very difficult for us to take them out. Now, there's one other thing I would do, and that is I would withdraw all U.S. military dependents from South Korea. They are a hostage force there today. And that will upset the military thinking not only in North Korea, but China. It gives substance to the threat of us using offensive action, provides us much more flexibility in what we can take out if we decide to take offensive action. Now, there's one other thing I forgot to mention about the Muslim Brotherhood before I leave you, and that is they're the ones that purged all of our training manuals. They took out anything to do linking Islam with terrorism. This denied our military people of the valuable insight on the enemy they're facing. And it's the same for law enforcement down to the local levels. They have been denied this information. These training manuals must be rewritten as soon as possible. It hasn't been done, and that's along with canceling all the executive orders that President Obama put out, which was a disadvantage to our military forces, particularly the one on diversity, which was nothing but a cover for implementing the social engineering mandate. Let me say it's been great to be with you. God bless you, and God bless America.
If you keep a call, that's your we all see our own past, shading away all the
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don NEUEN, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt, they would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glaze. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don NEUEN. And we're going to welcome back somebody who I just think is an inspiration, if nothing else. And that is Lucretia Hughes. We had Lucretia on the show before, and we met her last January at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention. Our mutual friend Kevin Jackson said, well, you need to have Lucretia go up there and speak. And man, was he right, because she just on the cuff went up there and spoke for a few minutes, and she was totally inspirational.
She's the bomb.
The only thing I could say
She's the
is
bomb, Donna.
she is Cowboy Logic's answer to Candace Owens. That's really how we have to kind of
She's the bomb.
say it. She is totally the bomb. Lucretia Hughes, welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Hey, Don and Donna.
All right, now we need to set the stage of who you were. First of all, you've come over, I shouldn't say from the dark side. That's not the way to look at it.
That is
But you-
so racist.
I'm sorry. It's just-
Hey, it's not racist.
That is so
if you can
racist.
literally,
Donna Fiducia.
I am on the right side now, so
Okay.
you can consider that the dark side.
all right,
She
initially,
came over from the left.
left. Well,
She was a Democrat.
yes.
She figured out that, what's the old saying? You've said it many times. If you're a Democrat in your 20s,
Yeah, well,
you're-
that's Winston Churchill. If you're a conservative in your 20s, you have no heart. If you're a
that's me.
liberal in your 40s, you have no brain. So that's pretty much. But the thing is, you really are an inspiration.
But Lucretia's
Lucretia.
only 25.
Well, she looks like she's 25.
Oh,
I
I don't want to ever go back to that age.
Yeah, well, that's true. Initially, you did vote for Obama first time around, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Second time
Yes,
around?
I did.
Did you find your way to
No,
second?
absolutely not.
Yeah, we all held our nose and voted for John McCain, unfortunately, and then Mitt Romney. But here's the thing. You had 4 kids before the age of 20. And
Yes.
you have how many grandchildren now?
I have 7 grandchildren.
7 grandchildren. I mean, and you're 20 years younger than I am. I mean, it's really unbelievable because you could have easily stayed on the public dole, and you didn't. Tell us about how you were inspired, really.
What really inspired me was my kids. That's what inspired me. And I have a daily show I do twice a day. And I was actually talking about this yesterday. When you get fed up and enough is enough and you're tired of ducking on the floor and kneeling because the drive-by is happening in your neighborhood, when you get to the point that you go to the Democratic Party that you used to support and say you want to run and make a change, and they say you can't because it's not your time, that enough was enough for me. If I'm living that life and went to 25 funerals in less than 2 years of black males in gun violence and gang problems, but I couldn't speak up about the problem, then it was time for me to change my life and my focus. And my focus became my children at that point and getting out of poverty and out of and off of the plantation.
Now, you lived in the heart of Atlanta, where, quite frankly,
No, I lived in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
My mother's side of the family is the country. That's where I call myself. You know, everybody wants to say I talk proper, and I call it country ghetto. Because the first part of my life, I was really raised in a mother-father situation, 9 brothers and sisters, oldest of the second, but then I started some of my own backside, and then I just started hanging out in the hood, and I made the wrong decisions, not my parents.
Yeah, that's the thing. For anybody, irregardless of your race, irregardless of your gender, the thing is responsibility. And to me, that is so lost right now in big government.
I don't even think they have responsibility. If that was the case, President Trump wouldn't have had to actually remind Nancy Pelosi what the meaning of transparency is. But they have allowed and been allowed to do things under the cloak of darkness. It's just now coming out into the light. So, yes, I did walk away from the darkness because I can see what's happening in front of me. And that is why I am ringing the alarm and getting out there and speaking up. My message is my mess. Because if I can overcome it and still wake up and still respect my Lord and Savior, respect my flag, my country, and put my family first, then what's everybody else's problem? Their priorities are jacked up.
Lucretia, of all the people that we interview, and we interview some great individuals, some great subject matter experts, some relatively well-known people as well, you, of all the people that we interview, walk the walk and talk the talk. You do them both, okay? And there's an absolutely devastating event that happened in your life that oftentimes we don't talk about when we're having an interview with you or when you're speaking until you get into your discussion or your conversation. And I want to bring this up to the people because this is the credibility factor. This is the moment, what we're about to talk about, Lucretia, is that moment where anybody that has not experienced what you have gone through, and man, I tell you, I don't want anybody to go through this. Nobody can relate, but it's that moment when it's a jaw-dropping moment for them. Because again, you walk the walk, and there are so many people that don't. But you lost a child, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you lost that child to gun violence, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you are an advocate.
And I can't say gun violence. Let's just stop saying gun violence. I'm at a point right now in my life that we are living in the end times. This is good versus evil. I am sorry. He could have been shot in the head or he could have been stabbed to death. The guy walked up behind him in a house full of people who refused to point out the killer and said nothing. This guy literally took 1 week after a fist fight and decided to let Satan indwell upon him. It was not the gun fault. The gun didn't jump up in that guy's hand and shoot my son in the back of his head. So now my life is a perpetration of what society maintains. There's a black man in jail and a black man in the grave, and a black boy gonna be raised without a father. And I'm here to stop that perpetration, and I'll put a spotlight on it because we need to talk about the real stuff, not social justice issues, but what's actually at the kitchen table, from the regulations to the Second Amendment to the Constitution. It all lumps in together. And like I said, I'm an open book. My message, my message. Am I strong? Only by the grace of God, but I can never deny what I went through. And I'm going to always fight for the good.
Excellent point. You know, I have said over and over that there is no legislation that can be drafted, there is no law that can be passed that can protect innocent people or the citizens of the United States from evil or act of war. And you just reiterated that. And
it never will be.
No. But you also, I want the listeners to know that you were working hand in hand with the NRA. And
I was blessed. I was very, very blessed to almost not make a mistake because my father, who was the founding member of the Black Panther movement, had just died the day before. I was supposed to go to the NRA in Atlanta, and I decided not to go. I'm the only Republican in my whole entire family, but it took one woman in my family to say, if you don't get your tail up and go to NRA dinner and network, then you have literally done everything that Papa Scott didn't want you to do. So I had the opportunity to meet Wayne LaPierre, and within less than a minute and a half of talking to me, he gave me his cell phone number, personal email, and everything else. And he said, I want to work with you. A year later, sitting in the parking lot, as my life had changed again for the worse. And if you really think about it, for a blessing, I was allowed to go out there and interview. I had to call Donna, tell Donna what was going on, get her advice. And she said, you better go there. Matter of fact, you better meet Dana. You better meet everybody, and you better be yourself. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the type of people like Donna and you, Don, for giving me the opportunities to be blessed to come in my life and cross my path, I don't know what God has in store for me, but I know he gave me two great people in my life.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned Dana Loesch and her husband, and I follow them on Twitter, and they've been supporters of us as well. But when initially you told me you were going to go to Texas to possibly meet Wayne LaPierre and be involved in this NRA conference that was going on there as his guest, she said to me, Mr. LaPierre called me. And then like a couple weeks later, he says to her, call me Wayne, right? Didn't he say that? Call me Wayne. Don't call me
Yes.
Mr. LaPierre. And you know what was unbelievable was that about a month after that, and you told me that you taped a public service announcement, I had Fox on in the background. I was cooking dinner. It was actually in the other room, but I heard this NRA commercial and I said, that sounds like Lucretia. And I looked at it and there it was. There you were doing your public service announcement for the NRA. Now, again, folks, this is a woman whose son was shot in the back of the head in a party. So people saw it. Okay. And you're talking about somebody who is now supporting the NRA. And Lucretia, to me, a single mom in the inner city has to be the one that is pro-NRA, because cops aren't going to be there when something happens. The only thing you have to protect yourself and your family is a gun. And once that's gone,
Yes.
we are doomed.
That's it. But we see that all over the world right now. If you look at the uprisings from the Yellow Jackets all the way to Canada, to Brazil, to Ireland, I can keep going on and on with the nations that are in an uproar, that they want nationalists. They want their nations to mean something. They want their citizens to mean something. And as a whole, it's good versus evil. When I say evil, I'm talking about the globalists. I'm talking about everybody that is standing against God's family country. That is what we're fighting against. That is what we have to stand up against. And that is what we're fighting for. And I'm fighting for my grandchildren.
I got to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The first time, like Donna mentioned at the beginning of this interview, the first time that we ever met Lucretia was back in late January 2018 at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She was a featured speaker, and I got to tell you, and you may know this, Lucretia, but each one of the featured speakers, many of which were huge subject matter experts and specialists in their particular field, each one of them had a YouTube video that was created by the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition, and it was uploaded. You blew everybody away on the views. Are you ready? You know that, right? Your view count.
No.
Your view count.
You had more.
Was like
the most.
Way up there.
Yep.
Like
I had no idea what I was going to get up there and say. And a lot of people don't know or understand this, and I'm telling you something that you didn't know. On December the 5th of the month before that, I had just lost my house. I was literally homeless when you gave me that hug that day and gave me that opportunity and chance. I was homeless, and you didn't even know it.
That's my birthday, December 5th. Great. That's the one thing I'm going to remember. Lovely. All right, here's the thing. Tell us about what you do, though, to try to get out there. You've made a lot of appearances, one of which was at the #WalkAway rally in D.C., which is phenomenal. You have a daily show. Actually, you go on twice, right? On a daily show?
Yes, I do it twice a day.
And what I love is what you just said earlier, my message is my meth. I mean, that's just a great way to put it. And it's a way for people to wake up to the raw emotion that you have, that you're putting into positivity is not a word that I've been hearing a lot lately.
Here's the other thing. You weren't using notes in South Carolina,
No,
and if
that's
you
the thing.
were, they were minimal notes,
From
correct?
the heart.
Correct?
That was not using notes, not one time.
Okay.
And I never use notes.
All right,
Anytime you see me stand up in a crowd, you can guarantee that I have no idea what's coming up out my mouth. I pray, and that's what I was doing when you helped me up on that stage. I had just said, amen. I say, God, let me decrease and you increase. So anytime you see me get up in front of anybody, that's not me. I just let God just filter through me.
That's proof, absolute proof, that you are the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
You are the
now,
real
I'm not perfect,
deal.
and I cuss like
I'm not
a
saying
sailor.
you're perfect. I'm not saying you're perfect. If you were perfect, I'd come to a church with your name on the front of it. Okay? You're not perfect. None of us are. But you are the damn real deal.
Tell
Okay.
us about some of the rallies that you've done and about this film that you're trying to put together, Get Back Right with God, which was filmed pretty much that you did at the Walkaway Rally in D.C., correct?
Yes, I did. I have always I'm sick of what I see on TV every day. I'm sick of what they try to perpetrate, the narrative that they push on the American citizens. And I said, you know what? I can't feel the same way. I see it on Facebook, but anybody could be a Facebook warrior. I said, God, what can I do? And my fiance, Dave, said, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I ain't never been to Houston, Texas. I'm going to Houston first. I literally went to Best Buy, bought a camera, set off on a trip to 4 cities in the United States: Houston, Texas, Washington, D.C., Macon, Georgia, and Kennesaw, Georgia, and walked up to everyday Americans and said, I am shooting a documentary, and I want to ask you a question. And I tell them the spiel, and I said, what makes America great to you? And it went from there. 121 interviews is what I got when I got up on the stage at the Walkaway Rally. I panned the crowd. It was the love that I feel and the respect that I was shown across this nation. Satan is a lie, and the media is too. And let's not even get me on the Democrats.
Let me ask you something.
I saw pride for my nation.
Exactly. And let me ask you something. We're talking with Lucretia Hughes. We met her at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention. Again, folks, she is a woman who picked herself up by her bootstraps.
She's a lady.
A lady. This is true. Picked herself up by the bootstraps, got 7 grandchildren, 4 kids before the age of 20, and gosh darn it, she is not going to be on the public dole any longer. But let me ask you something, Lucretia. Essentially, what is it going to take for somebody like Donald Trump to wake up Black Americans? We have record low unemployment across the board from all nationalities, even women at this point. We have record low unemployment in general. We have a GDP that is skyrocketing. The mainstream media gives nothing of this. All we hear about is, bimbo eruptions, quite frankly. What is it going to take from your perspective to wake up your fellow Black Americans to the fact that the Democrat Party takes them for granted and the Republican Party is trying to help them?
I'm going to tell you, like a TIE is, it's going to take free will. Donald Trump can do nothing. Donald Trump just gave $100 billion to help the inner cities and urban areas. The man has already given more money to the historically black colleges. He has done more for the black community than Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and the Bushes wrapped together in less than 2 years. It's going to take that individual person to get tired of being lied to. It's going to take that individual person themselves to wake themselves up. Donald Trump can't do nothing. Lip service is enough because we've had it for decades and millennia. I am an action woman, and he walks the walk and talks the talk. I like the Bible say, you can't force nothing on anybody. Our job is to witness and witness only. And if they refuse to hear the words that are coming out your mouth, you dust your boots off, pick yourself up by the shoulders, and march on a soldier. And that is what God tells you to do, no matter if it's politically, spiritually, financially, or life itself. If no one loves you, you love yourself, and you keep fighting for what you believe in. But Donald Trump can't do a dang on thing but continue to be the man that we elected to do the job and fight and expose corruption.
It sucks. It sucks that we have to talk about race.
We shouldn't even have to talk about this.
It really sucks that we have to talk about race because as a white guy that's 57 years old, my parents raised me under the tutelage of Dr. King. which is, little Don, you don't ever judge anybody by the color of their skin. You just don't ever do it. You judge them only by the content of their character. And that's how I was raised.
The very first international interview I ever done was CBS Morning, Evening, and Business. And the first thing I said was, I think for myself, period. And I also quoted Dr. Martin Luther King that you judge a man by his character and not the color of his skin. And I was called every name under the sun and everything but the child of Christ. So I must be doing the right thing.
There you go.
They don't
Well, here's
attack
the
you.
thing, though.
You're doing the right
It's
thing.
like I said, it sucks that we have to talk about race, especially when we have black guests like you or Dr. Carol Swain or any of our other wonderful black guests that we have on the show. We have to talk about race, though, because it's an issue that's become an issue that's constantly made an issue by the Democrat Party. And I'm here to tell you, Lucretia, I've said this over and over to our black guests. You, as a black conservative lady, and I don't use the term woman because women are what goes to pussycat rallies.
That's true.
DNC,
I stand
and ladies
corrected.
stay at home and end up going to work the next day and act like ladies. There's a big difference between a guy and a gentleman, or a man and a gentleman, and a lady and a woman. But here's the thing. In my opinion, you are the biggest threat, to the Democrat Party and to liberals and to progressives and to Marxists. You're a conservative black lady. And they don't know
I always
what the
say that.
hell
They don't
to
know
do
what to
with
do
you.
with me.
They do not know
I
what to do
snap
with you.
back. I don't play nice. I'm not turning the other cheek. I ain't got time for that. Like that woman, that black woman said, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time to be pussyfooting around playing with grown folks. And when you talk about race, my grandmother and grandfather was the very first interracial couple in Jackson County, Georgia. I am 44. I'm going to let that tell you how far back that was when they were still segregated. Now, my grandchildren are biracial, and my fiance is white. So when you're talking about race to me, if that's what you're going to say to me, I'll walk away because you waste my energy and time with that foolishness.
All right, Lucretia Hughes, tell everybody how they can get hold of you and to look at your video, Get Back Right with God. Some 120 some odd interviews you've done, but you need to finish this film. And how can people support you?
Okay, we are looking for donations. We are just editing, myself and Dave, my partner. We are editing the video ourselves. We want to turn this into a mainstream documentary to show the love and loyalty of our nation and the pride that we have as a citizen in a whole. So if anybody want to help us, you can get in contact with us at www.fallback Production Studios, and you can also call me at 404-422-2558.
That's 404-422-2558. Now, on
We have
Twitter,
never had a guest give
them
out their
phone
cell
number.
phone number, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't
This
give a. I wish
woman
they would.
is the
I will
real
snap
deal.
your head off. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. You call me with some foolishness, I will hurt your feelings and wish you never had. Now you call me with some respect and some guts, and you help a sister girl out. But if you call in to bring drama, I will be your worst nightmare. That's why I'm never scared to get my phone number out. Play with me if you want to. Hey.
all right, you're on Facebook as well, right? Tell us about your shows on your daily
We only
show
got
on
30
Facebook.
seconds. How do you top
You can't
that?
top that.
You don't top it. I mean, we just ought to go to
Lucretia
break
Hughes,
right
a
now.
Patriot's point of view.
Donna, who do
Lucretia
we...
Hughes,
Well, hold
a
on.
Patriot's point of
Your
view.
daily show is on Facebook or where can we find your show? The show that you do daily.
Lucretia Hughes, a Patriot's point of view.
A Patriot's point of view. Lucretia
And if you can't
Hughes.
find it, hell, give her a call.
And she'll tell you. And on Twitter, it's CRE35, like Lucretia, right? CRE35
Yes.
on Twitter? Okay, Lucretia
Yes.
Hughes.
Donna, we got to go to break. Who's coming up next?
You are the best. We love you. 404-422-2558, folks, for Lucretia Hughes. And coming up next, Sidney Powell talking about the license to lie. Boy, that's what's happening with this Mueller investigation.
And next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give out Lucretia's social security number and her address. Don't miss it next week. All of her personal data will be coming out next week.
On
We'll be
Cowboy
back in
Logic
3 minutes.
Radio.
out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don NEUEN, and our very special guest to close the show. And she's always a special guest because she is special, to say the least. And that is one Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is an attorney, an author. The one book that she wrote that is so poignant right now is License to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice. Man, that just says it all, Sidney. You can find that at licencetolie.com. We have our own personal copy. On Twitter, you can find her at Sidney Powell 1. That's SIDNEY Powell 1. And, well, Sidney, you write for the Daily Caller. Do you still write for the Observer? I know you did that for a while as well.
No, I haven't written anything for them in a long time.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's because I got old nose. What can you say?
Let me interject some stuff here very quickly about Sidney. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, in our opinion, and many that agree with us, Sidney Powell is the absolute authority to be talking about what is going on right now with the Mueller investigation, the Department of Justice, all of the cabal, as she says, that are fabricating. I think that's probably a mild term to describe what Mueller and his team are doing with regard to this investigation for Russian collusion against Donald Trump. She is the authority on this. Mm-hmm. I have, Sidney, I don't know if I told you this or not, but Donna and I decided this year that the best gifts that we could give our friends and family for Christmas are books that our friends have written. And we have purchased your book, License to Lie, numerous times and are sending them to our friends and family, along with your colleagues, Trevor Loudon and Tom Del Beccaro and James Mitchell. Yep. And I know I'm drawing a blank on Buzz Patterson.
Yep.
You know, we decided the best thing that we could do is kind of kill two birds with one stone, and that is give great gifts and support great authors. So, Sidney, that's what we've done this year.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
And I wouldn't I signed your name to all of them along with my name so that I could tell everybody they were autographed books. I'm kidding. I didn't do that. That's fraud or something.
And Sidney also sent us our own personal Creeps on a Mission t-shirt.
That's
because
right.
That's her latest website there, creepsonamission.com. You can also find her at sydneypowell.com. But Sidney, your latest for the Daily Caller that is actually hot off the presses is so poignant. Basically, you talk about the fact that Mueller should be fired along with his whole team there.
Yes, I think the time has come for that. If he has not produced the evidence that I'm talking about to Judge Sullivan under seal, I guess that's a possibility. But there's so much that's missing from his filing the other day that I'm just absolutely appalled. We know, for example, that there was a 302 done. That's an FBI interview form when General Flynn was first interviewed in the ambush interview of January 24th, because it's referred to in the page-stroke text messages, and there's also a reference to it in the interview report that they filed the other day that was actually done by Mueller's team in August of when after he took over.
Yeah, it was like 7 months later, right?
Yeah, 7 months later, after Stroke is fired for his misconduct and his obvious outrageous bias from the text messages between him and Lisa Page. So Mueller has his own team do an exit interview, basically, of Stroke that walks him back through the interview of General Flynn, among other things. So there's a heavily redacted interview of that, and that's what they give the judge. Well, the judge asked for anything related to that first interview of General Flynn. So it should have included the very first 302 and the raw notes that Agent Pienka took of that first interview. Those are nowhere to be found in Mueller's filing. Now, there are, as Professor Margot Cleveland points out, and I had also noticed, there's some missing docket entries which can indicate that something was filed under seal. I just don't know why those particular things would have had to have been filed under seal, but I guess that's a possibility.
Well, I think that this Judge Ellis, correct?
No, Judge Sullivan, the hero from my book.
I'm sorry, Judge Sullivan.
Sydney's had him in her book.
I made a mistake, ladies. Now, Judge Sullivan is the wrong one to piss off. Am I correct, Sydney?
You are quite correct about that, because he's the judge who threw out the conviction of Ted Stevens for hiding the ball. And it's not just the notes from Pienka, the guy who interviewed Flynn with Agent Stroke, and the original 302 that needs to be disclosed. John Solomon and Senator Grassley have identified information within the possession of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, that exonerates General Flynn. And Devin Nunes was on Laura Ingraham the other night saying that James Comey's testimony before one of the House committees exonerates General Flynn. So all of that is called Brady material. Anything that's favorable to the defense in the possession of the government is Brady material. And the fact that it's classified doesn't mean the government doesn't have to give it to him. They have a solemn legal, constitutional, and ethical obligation to produce it to the defense. If it has to be protected, really, in the interest of national security, if that's legitimate, then they have to give him a summary of it. They don't have to give him the actual document if there's something about it that has to be protected, or they can produce it under seal. So maybe they are producing some of that stuff under seal, which is great if they are. That's what they're supposed to do. But if not, then they're sitting on major Brady violations.
Yeah,
but aside from that, we've got another big doozy that really sends me over the edge, and that is the fact that the Inspector General just came out with a new report Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which because I can't keep my days straight, in which we learn that Mr. Mueller allowed the cell phone of Peter Strzok to be wiped clean after he was informed of the egregious bias reflected in the text messages between him and Lisa Page, so bad that it required him to be fired from Mr. Mueller's squad. And the same thing happened to Lisa Page's cell phone in the Department of Justice. Any good law enforcement official would have had all their electronic devices secured immediately and created, put them in evidence bags and tagged them just like they were evidence in a criminal investigation, and had them processed and treated like the secure evidence they should have been treated like. And that is absolutely appalling. He puts Paul Manafort in solitary confinement for less than that. It is obstruction of justice, and it should be treated as such. He should be fired no later than Wednesday.
You heard it from Sidney Powell, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell you, Sidney, in your article that you wrote recently that we read, this is a criminal act. Not to mention,
it is.
It's okay, first of all, if you're representing anybody or dealing with anybody in the Democrat Party, but also if you're trying to cover up and hide and make sure that what your people were doing is never really fully disclosed, right?
To me, it's also a pattern. You're destroying evidence, just like Hillary Clinton did.
Exactly. I am just so hopping mad about it, I could chew up 10 penny nails and spit them out.
All right, Sidney, I'm going to ask the trillion-dollar question here, and the one that, to those of us that are following this, it's appalling. It's beyond legal. There is no description for what's going on. I have to ask you, the authority on this whole thing, how are they getting away with it? Why are they getting away with it? And what has to happen to make it to where they don't get away with this crap anymore?
Well, I think what has to happen at this point is that Matthew Whitaker needs to go in. I mean, I would let the Flynn proceeding go through on Tuesday and see what Judge Sullivan does. But if I were Matthew Whitaker, I would go in on Wednesday morning and I would fire Mr. Mueller and everybody affiliated with him.
Can he do that as the acting AG? Does he have that kind of authority?
Actually, I don't know. I think he does. He's overseeing the Mueller probe.
Hey, if he's the acting AG, he's got the authority to do it.
They're gonna scream bloody murder.
Well, of course they're going to scream that. They would always scream.
He hasn't
that.
been confirmed. That's the whole thing. He hasn't been confirmed. He's just picked by Trump. But let me ask you this, Sidney Powell. Again, what we're talking about is she lays this all out in her book, License to Lie, exposing the corruption in the Department of Justice, but also in the Daily Caller just a couple days ago, over the weekend this came out, talking about how Mueller illegally destroyed or suppressed evidence and he should be fired. You're also, by the way, Sidney, I should mention, a senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research, and you've seen her on Hannity, Fox Business, and Newsmax. And also, since we've talked to you, you have been the subject of the Limbaugh letter on Rush Limbaugh. So you've really hit it big, Sidney Powell. And what really gets me...
Well, she's the authority on this. She's walked the walk. She talks the talk. She knows what she's talking about.
And we can only hope that Donald Trump and Judge Sullivan see this. But the other thing I want to ask you about, which again continues this egregious, it's just unbelievable, this behavior. What has happened with Michael Cohen, to me, should completely be thrown out. Otherwise, we have nothing. We have no justice in this country because it violates attorney-client privilege.
Well, they got the crime fraud exception on Michael Cohen, which essentially set aside the attorney-client privilege for much of the information, certainly the tax and all that. The election law counts are flat out bogus. I mean, they just made up that crap. They're completely unprecedented. I defy any lawyer in the country to find me any criminal election law violations on similar facts. There aren't any.
Well,
they made them up.
Mark Levin and some of his subject matter experts have basically echoed exactly what you just said. Sidney, let me ask you this. Is it, my understanding, which is that of a layman, is that per a few 1, 2, 3 Department of Justice memorandums, it is you are not allowed to indict a sitting president. Is that your understanding?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
there was one in a Democratic administration issued. There was one in a Republican administration issued. A sitting president cannot be indicted.
all right. So do we, as Trump supporters, as American citizens, do we need to be concerned about Donald Trump being indicted over anything that you have heard thus far?
No, even if he weren't a sitting president, there's nothing to indict him on. That's BS.
Okay.
Again, they've been saying that, oh, ho-hum, Barack Obama had a few $1 million in misappropriated campaign funds, and he paid a $360,000 fine. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But whatever Donald Trump gets, whatever happens to him, he gets an anal exam. And I'm just really sick and tired of this. And I am not a lawyer, but I am an old school journalist, Sidney Powell. And this does not pass the smell test whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
It's Nancy Pelosi's wrap-up smear campaign.
And the thing is,
anything and everything to keep him under the microscope, to try to keep him off balance, to try to smear him, to try to destroy him. It's an unrelenting, multifaceted, all-angle, unrelenting assault on this man, unprecedented in our legal history and the most shameful episode in our legal history we will ever witness. I hope it never gets worse.
Well, they're in the death throes right now because they don't want to give up their power. That's really the problem. And the deep state is much deeper than, even a couple of years ago, Sidney Powell, you wrote about how Trump needs to fire everybody, get rid of the deep state right off the bat. Why can't that be done? Is it because these people are too ensconced?
I think it didn't happen to begin with because he didn't realize how bad it was, and I don't know who around him he was relying on to give him advice, but I think there were too many of them around him, and he didn't realize it.
You think he's getting his sea legs at this point? He seems like he is. I think he's going to take the gloves off if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer continue this crap.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's not good. I don't want to hear that from you. To me, I really feel that at this point, he has seen so much. I mean, the double standard, even with the slush fund or a hush fund that they have, is insane. I mean, you've got members of Congress, acting members of Congress, who have a $17 million taxpayer hush fund, and they're sitting there and talking about what Donald Trump's done when he, was a private citizen.
You can't make this stuff up. I've been all over that on Twitter. I've just been all over it since I first heard about it, and I still want the disclosure, even though they've just changed the law. I want the disclosure now of the names of everybody still in Congress and from the last 10 years who has benefited from that, and we need to demand that they pay the money back, but we definitely need the disclosure of the names of anyone still in Congress, because how dare they raise even a voice against this president for having used his own money to settle civil claims that any businessman would settle.
Exactly. Sydney, let's go back to all these actions that you wrote about in the Daily Caller article this past weekend. How is it that they are getting away with this type of behavior? How is it that is, that everybody that is a law-abiding citizen is not going, wait a minute, this is just totally wrong.
And we're all in trouble.
How are they getting away with it?
Well, their arrogance is unmatched. I mean, that's step number one. You can see that in Mr. Comey as he gleefully brags about how clever he was in sending 2 agents over to the White House. He wouldn't have tried that in the Obama administration or the Bush administration. But of course, he had no respect for the Trump administration and could hardly wait to try that out. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. No sense of ethics or any respect whatsoever. It's mind-boggling.
Can you talk a little bit about what's happened in the past you wrote about in your book as well? Because this is their MO. They destroy everybody. And even if the person is innocent, they've ruined them, so it doesn't matter. Because all they're trying to do right now is the same exact thing with the President of the United States. Even if he's innocent, if they can say enough crap about him, they'll destroy him. They did it with Ted Stevens, even though he was exonerated afterwards. The Enron case, 80,000 people losing their jobs in the past with these people have targeted. Michael Flynn is the latest. And they're also obviously trying it with other people like Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone.
Oh, yeah, and Paul Manafort, who's been in solitary confinement for I don't know how long now. He's a 70-year-old man or so. He's in a small cell for 23 hours a day. He's getting to where he can't even walk. He's so confined. It's horrible what they're doing to him.
How is that being allowed?
I don't know. It's appalling. That's the fault of the district judge in D.C., I think it's Amy Berman Jackson. It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Somebody should be.
Is there any way you can vet these judges like this? I mean, it's obviously political, and
it obviously is.
And they don't care.
And here, Mr. Mueller has destroyed evidence and obstructed justice, and all Paul Manafort did was attempt to contact a witness that he didn't even know was on Mr. Mueller's list of witnesses, and they accused him of obstructing justice.
We're talking with Sidney Powell. Her latest article in the Daily Caller basically outlines the fact that Robert Mueller and Rosenstein should be fired because they illegally destroyed or suppressed evidence, which right off the bat should throw them out. And what this does, again, she's also the author of License to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice. What this really does...
Hang on, Donna, hang on. I want to ask all of our listeners to help us out here. I need for you to go to the Daily Caller. Sydney, help us so that they can locate this article. And then I need you to go to social media, and I need you to tag Donald Trump. If you're doing this on Twitter, you need to tag at the real Donald Trump or whatever his Twitter handle is. I need you to tag your senators and your congressmen. You need to tag the Department of Justice with this article and attach it to your tweet or your post. Sydney, what's the best way for them to find that article quickly?
I'd tag or look at my Twitter feed at Sydney Powell 1, and I should pin it to my top of my Twitter feed. Probably be the best thing for me to do.
And your website as well, licensedtolie.com. That's with a D, licensedtolie.com. And again, it's at Sydney Powell 1, SIDNEY, and Powell with 2 L's. Sydney,
the important thing, though, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to have this tagged to the DOJ, your congressmen, your senators, and Donald Trump. You've got to tag this. Tag it to everybody. Tag it to Melania. Tag it to everybody.
well, I think Lou Dobbs too. I mean, you've been on his show numerous times. Hopefully, he's one person that really is relentless with this. But this, to me, is if we lose this, to me, we're a third world country. We're a banana republic. Because if they can do this to the president of the United States, they can do it to anybody.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we're looking at. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's really
That's
scary.
the only reason they went after Flynn. If he weren't in the White House as National Security Advisor, they wouldn't have gone after him.
Or Michael Cohen, for that matter, as sleazy as he is. What really gets me about the Michael Cohen case is Michael Cohen says, well, Donald Trump told me to break the law. He's a lawyer. He should be saying to his client, you're breaking the law.
Yeah, well,
That's right.
Cohen
We're not doing that. It's illegal.
Hey,
He's a
Sydney
moron,
Powell,
too.
we've got about 4 more minutes. I would like to ask if you were able to sit down in the Oval Office with Donald Trump without having Nancy Pelosi or crying Chuck Schumer or the press or anybody else in there. It's just you and the Trump man. What would you say to him if he gave you 5-10 minutes of his time? What would you say? How would you advise him?
I would tell him to fire Mr. Mueller and the entire team on Wednesday, for starters, and I would also fire Mr. Wray and start over in the FBI and make it clear that there were going to be things handled very differently, that we needed an entire new outlook in both places, that we were not going to be bludgeoning innocent people into pleading guilty with threats of indicting their children or having them spend the rest of their lives in prison if they didn't crater to our demands, that we were going to support criminal justice reform, that we were going to continue to search for truth and justice and not convictions like we used to. We're going to go back to the old ways of seeking justice and not convictions. And if that meant letting a guilty person go free every now and then, that would be what we would do rather than simply seeing how many convictions we could rack up.
Well, we're talking about criminal justice reform right now, and they're not. It's right under their nose. This is the real criminal justice reform we need.
Yeah, but
exactly
what you just heard, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from a former federal prosecutor. That's what's so important about the fact that Sidney Powell said that. Sidney, if you could throw a name in the hat, present company excluded, to be the AG, who would it be?
Emmett Sullivan.
Really? Well, that would be awesome.
That would be pretty awesome.
That would. Let me ask you something. Is his name Huber, the one that Sessions appointed out in Utah? Where the hell's he?
Yes.
He's MIA
too. I have no idea what's going on there.
I mean, he's like Sessions. Somebody had it had to be the Clintons, be honest with you, because the Clintons got dirt on everybody, I'm sure, from the time he was president. And I think from day one, they had dirt on him, and that was it. He wasn't going to do his job, unfortunately. That's just a shame. Sidney Powell, again, tell everybody where they can get hold of all your stuff. We got about a minute left.
www.licensedtolie.com or sydneypowell.com. Mm-hmm. And Twitter is at Sidney Powell, the number 1.
At Sidney Powell, the number 1. And again,
you still have time, ladies and gentlemen, to purchase this book as Don NEUEN did as a Christmas gift for friends and family. And I believe I didn't do it this way. I didn't go to the actual License to Lie website, and so I didn't get one autographed by Sidney. But if you go to the website, you can get an autographed copy from Sidney, and that just makes it much more special.
We are almost sold out of first edition. The only first editions we have left are autographed copies.
oh, when we have one.
That's because I bought one for every friend and family member that I have, Sidney.
And you can
And
read
there
her,
are only a few of those left.
you can read her latest in the Daily. Call her again. She's a senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Her latest also is creepsonamission.com. Love the T-shirt on that one. Again, licensed.
Yeah, the T-shirts are great.
Yeah, licensedtolie.com and on Twitter at Sidney Powell and the number 1. Sidney Powell, thank you so much for joining us as usual here in your busy schedule on Cowboy Logic Radio. We so appreciate it. And we always like to close with a quote. And this one is from the philosopher Plato. Just a short one and a very poignant one. Courage is knowing what not to fear. We can only hope our president is listening to that one. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, have a Merry Christmas. We hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. To all of our Jewish friends, we hope you had a great Hanukkah, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, God bless America.
If you keep a calm mind, that's your pride. We all see our own past, shaded away.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.